Hey everyone, this is Curb and I bring you another standard match. Today on the left we do have Chronojet piloted by my teammate Joshua, and on the right we do have Nathan playing not Willista actually, but we're actually going to be playing some Felty Rosa. So we do see Chronojet going first. Probably not what you want to be doing when you're playing Chronojet, but you know, you're playing such a good deck, it doesn't even really matter. But the Felty Rosa is going to be trying to go for a little bit of that aggression, calling down that grade 1 from the new festival booster and hoping to swing with it, but unfortunately that first check is going to be just a defensive and we didn't hit our own trigger off of that drive check, so we're just going to be having to settle for 1 damage. Going to be swinging the smoke gear at the Vanguard, getting our own defensive with that swirler swinging at that grade 1. Probably debating on whether we want to guard it, just opting to give it the 15k because that grade 1 is actually a pretty good card. It allows you to counterblast 1 and put whatever it boosted into the soul in order to draw a card. So a lot of the ghost cards from Felty Rosa actually do disappear off the board, and you do kind of need to clear them off the board in order to use Felty Rosa's skill, which basically calls from the top deck whenever you drive check. So being able to clear those and actually get some advantage instead of just like putting them on top or the bottom of the deck is definitely pretty good. But of course we do see the Willista ride line putting in quite a bit of work with that new order card. When you ride over the grade 1, you got to put a card from your hand into the soul in order to search out a gem card, and then of course that gem card is going to let you give your Vanguard an extra 5k as well as draw another card. And then the skill of the grade 2 actually lets you draw yet another card. So honestly, I can foresee the Willista ride line being very easily teched into a lot of other lyrical ride lines, since a lot of them are not the greatest. We are seeing the swirler attacked into with that grade 1 and then attacking the Vanguard, not guarding it because obviously we're at 15, so we don't really want to risk that 1 to pass. But gonna be riding into the Chronojet, just doing Chronojet things, getting out that Balif, and just adding it to the hand. Alright, so we are looking in a pretty good situation for Chronojet, actually using the cycle card, which we did ditch to ride, and in order to just kind of draw a card, just going to be swinging at the Vanguard, not calling down anything, drive checking nothing, and pushing Felty Rosa to 2, which is not bad because you do need 1 counterblast in order to actually use Felty Rosa's skill, and then of course you can use that other counterblast for that grade 1 there, or whatever you really want to be using it for. So riding into that Felty Rosa, pushing the grade 1 back, kind of deciding to, I believe we're going to be using the Felty Rosa skill here, which essentially just gives you the old Felty Rosa skill, where every time you check a ghost, you have to counterblast 1 and you get to call the card that from the trigger zone, and then basically you get a +1 drive, but this one lets you get the +1 drive whenever you call a ghost, calling down that grade 2 from set 2, I believe it is, which allows you to soul blast 1 and call a ghost from the drop zone. So pretty cool that it has a little bit of recursion. And then we are going to be calling this grade 2, which I believe lets you soul blast 2 on attack and give it 15k, and then it goes to, I believe, the top or the bottom, I don't quite remember which one, but swinging at the Vanguard, getting our attacks going. Gonna be swinging the 18, pretty good number. That's gonna be calling for at least a 20k guard. Probably just deciding whether we want to attack this, because we do have this isn't going to be the most powerful attack, because Felty Rosa actually does need another Felty Rosa in the soul in order to actually, we are seeing the grade 1 skill there, use your counterblast 1, putting in soul to draw a card. You need another Felty Rosa in the soul in order to actually get an extra 10k to your front row ghost units. Swinging the Vanguard for another 18, opting to not use this skill, I believe. I could be mistaken, this could be another unit that I'm thinking of, but I think this is the one that gets an extra 15k if you Soul Blast 2, but obviously we're not going to be using that, so it's just going to be sticking around and be swinging at the Vanguard. Felty Rosa is actually one of those few decks that you really don't want a 2 to pass, because they can just call their blank checks and then their triggers will obviously just be going to the Vanguard. Unfortunately, we hit a heal trigger here and a second heal trigger, which is normally any deck would love to see a double trigger, but not only do we not get the heal off, we wasted 2 heals in a row, but we did also miss out on that multi-attack and waste the power because we swung with the rear guards before we ended up swinging with the Felty Rosa. So being able to just whiffing completely on Felty Rosa's skill, essentially just using a counterblast 1 for no skill, is just really bad. But looks like we're putting the grade 2 onto the bottom of the deck, deciding that I guess we'd rather not have them not have another attacker, calling out the GG, Soul Blasting the 2, and then drawing a card. And we're seeing a double upstream dragon here, which is going to be definitely very powerful, swinging the first upstream for that 23, calling out a 15k guard. Vanguard with that heal trigger, the Steam Ref going back into the deck, and calling out probably a Swirler, yeah, just to hit even better numbers, which is one of the reasons why Chronojet is just kind of insanely stupid right now, or it can just like amass so much power. Kind of surprising we don't have the same restriction as JP with the Swirler and the GG. It might make things a little bit more tame, but in general, I think Chronojet is just always going to be a really good deck until they severely hit it. Anyways, just swinging with that Fate Rider, putting the GG back and calling back out the upstream, giving the extra 5k to that upstream because we do have one face-up card in the G zone. So looks like we're opting to just take that attack, drive chicken into a PG, a critical trigger, a little unfortunate, and a second PG. So it's looking like we're probably not going to be able to push for a game next turn with the double PG going to 4. And then, of course, the front row units are going to be getting an extra 5k from the crest. Looks like we're swinging the upstream, which is going to be boosted by that Swirler. Obviously, being a 33k column, unfortunately not hitting a single defensive. So these are going to be having, we're going to have to commit some cards to guard both, at least one of these attacks. We could be pushed to 5. Probably going to want to be taking the bigger one, so probably going to opt to guard this one. 33 is also a bit of an awkward number because that's a 25-point card guard, which is a 2-card guard no matter what you do. It looks like we're committing the double 15k shields, putting the upstream back and calling out yet another Swirler, which of course is going to be a 13k attacker. And I believe this upstream is 15k more, so it's going to be hitting for 48 if I'm correct, which I think is obviously the attack that you do want to be taking in this situation. So we do have to tap the deck because we are going to be soul charging into a heal. Not the greatest, but you know, it is it is what it is. So it looks like it's only 43, but obviously we're just going to be taking that. Once again, not hitting a trigger, putting the upstream back yet again, and calling out the GG, soul blasting the 2 cards that we soul charge off the double Swirler, and just getting to draw yet another card. We're honestly just seeing the huge amount of power that having double upstream really gives you. We were able to push 3 damage this turn with only just like 1 trigger. So already numbers are manageable, but they're still really big from basically our first play turn. But we do thankfully see that Felty Rosa going into for the Persona Ride. So we are able to actually amass a lot of power this turn. Probably not going to be able to break through those double PGs, but our ability to actually push to 5 is looking pretty good. We do have the extra 10k to the front row units, the ghosts, because we have the Felty Rosa in skill. We have plenty of counterblast in order to use any skills that we want, although I think that realistically Felty doesn't really use too much counterblast, at least with the new one. We probably just use one for the Vanguard skill, and we do have a little bit of countercharge in the form of that Ingrid there, but looks like we're not going to be using its skill because it does have to be placed other than from hand, which it was just now. Looks like we're calling the grade 2, opting to not use its skill. Not really a huge point. I don't think there's anything good to revive from the drop zone at this moment, so it's pretty understandable. But swinging for a 38, which is a very nice magic number, just that extra 10k from the Felty Rosa on top of that Persona Ride is really doing a lot to impact the power of our swing. So it looks like we are taking that first swing and hitting into a defensive trigger, which is going to make these next attacks that much easier to actually guard, even though this one is just a 46, going to be guarding for I believe we guarded for 43, which seems like it might be a little bit of a misplay. I think we're 5k short there. Hitting into a front trigger and then a draw trigger, unfortunately not being able to get those 5 attacks because of the unfortunate double trigger there, but still being able to swing for a 53. That grade 2 actually lets you call or stand the thing behind it or anything in its column when it is placed from, I believe, just not from hand or from deck. So swinging in and actually hitting that 53. so pushing to 5, but unfortunately Chronojet does still have a ton of cards left in hand. Looks like we drew into that OT, so definitely not losing, or there was honestly no way we were able to lose that turn. But we are going into the Fate Rider, bot decking the grade 1. And now that we are on second strike, we do have a 10k to the entire front row. But Felty Rosa does actually have a fair amount of cards left in hand, so maybe there's some potential in our ability to actually win this. But we are swinging the Swirler for 26, boosted by that Zargon, the other Swirler being at a 18, I believe. So theoretically, it is possible for us to live this. Unfortunately, we do have to guard all 4 of these attacks because we are at 4. We do need to be able to see an Ingrid, otherwise we wouldn't be able to use our skills, because I believe we used both of the grade 1s last turn and shoved both of the things into the soul in order to guard. Overguarding by 10k there for some reason, not entirely sure. I believe if my calculations are correct, it should have just been a 15k guard, because it should have just been a 26, unless I'm missing something, because both those swirlers were called last turn, so they don't have an extra 5k. But now the front row does get an extra 5k, or I should say plus 15k, because we swung with the Fate Rider for 41, calling out that upstream, which is going to be calling probably another swirler in order to boost that entire column. So not really looking that good. We still do have a fair amount of cards in our hand, but the quality of shield value might be lacking. I think I can see like at least 1 PG in there and a front trigger. This other column I think is going to be swinging for 40. The swirler column is going to be like 41, and then this upstream did get a 15k, as well as the front row, so it's 30, 40, 45, I believe, at the current moment, not accounting for any triggers. Oh yeah, the second upstream is always 45 because it's 15k base, it gets 15 from the front row and 15k from the Fate Rider, so that is 3 times 15, which is 45. So kind of looks like we're just kind of calculating to see if we have enough to guard all of these attacks. It looks like we might, because actually if we hadn't misguarded and we didn't call the extra 10k, we should theoretically have enough. Depending on, I think we have enough for the upstream, but it looks like we're PGing the Vanguard swing, drive checking 1, nothing, nothing, and a nothing. So complete blank checks, swinging the upstream for 45. We might have enough to guard both of these, but we do have to see. I can't quite see what's in the hand, but see, this is a 35-point guard, so definitely very difficult to guard in this situation. If we had been able to not get pushed to 5 last turn, then we would have had some chances for defensives, but looks like we're just going to opt to take it, deciding that we don't have enough shield value in order to guard all of these attacks. So that is going to be the match. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.